Hello there, good morning. Welcome back to Celtic World Order podcast. As always, I'm Steve O'Matt, and it's just a wee quick one because it is now time. The time is now, it is here. The Glasgow Derby is upon us. The biggest game of the season so far. I'm sure you'll agree with that. Some might say Kairat Almaty, but in the domestic front, this is the one. This is the one that matters. This is the one that everybody looks to. And as the first one, it is always an opportunity to really put down a marker, prove a point, and get one over your rivals in the lead for the title. Of course, we find ourselves getting in there. We are in a good spot. We're 6 points ahead. Rangers have had a torrid time so far in their opening games as well as elsewhere. But as they say, and it is a wee bit cliche, unfortunately, on these kind of days that sometimes form goes out of the window. It's an absolutely beautiful day. I'm sure that every player that takes to the field will be soaking up the sun, soaking up the atmosphere and wanting to kick on, wanting to be the hero, wanting to prove a point. So the lineups are out. Let's jump straight into it. As we always say, let's get down to business. I just want a wee quick one before the game goes on, half an hour before kickoff. But it would be remiss, wouldn't it, to not talk about these lineups and go through it. We were on last night. We gave you a wee sort of idea of where we felt this one was going. What's your thoughts? Fire in anything that you've got there. How do you feel about the lineups, respectively, for both teams? Do you think the Celtic lineup's as strong as it could ever be? What about Adam Idah and Johnny Kenny? Not anywhere near the squad. What's the point? What's the point? I will come back to what I said. You can't sell guys if you don't have replacements in the door. That's fact. I think that's fair to say, but they're nowhere near it. Adam Idah isn't even on the bench, which you would expect, because if he is going to Swans, you can't run the risk of him getting injured. Johnny Kenny, however, I've not heard anything about that one. I find that quite interesting because I've had people on here tell me how he's a brilliant player and he's a necessity and he must be in there, not on the bench, not on the squad. Hopefully, well, I say hopefully, I don't want him to be injured, but I hope that his reason for any omission might be struggling, might be a wee twinge, maybe a wee sort of niggle that you can't be risked. Because if he is fit and he isn't on the bench, then wow. Because at a time when we look absolutely desperate for firepower, why would you have a bona fide striker not in the squad? So I'm looking forward to hearing the reasoning behind that one. But in terms of the squad, it came out. We maybe saw late on some rumours. There were some people posting out that apparently there was a leaked team, and it pretty much was that team that was there, minus Sarashi, who is not there on the bench, but that wee leak, apparent leak, had him starting. So let's jump right into it. Let's have a look. Schmeichel on the sticks, Ralston at right back, centre half pair, and Carter Vickers and Scales, Tierney at left back, and then the midfield probably takes care of itself, doesn't it? It's maximum strength we went for. Callum McGregor, Rio Hatate, Arnott Engels, the good, pleasant introduction of Balakwisha there out on the wing, which means Nygren will be getting utilised out on the wing as well, and Maeda through the middle. It looks strong, but it's undoubtedly a side that are going to have to probably get the job done within the sort of 70-minute golden period, because that's when Celtic start to make their subs. And when you look at the bench, it's not disastrous. It's not disastrous. You know, you've got McCown there if you want a wee bit of dig, a wee bit of grit. Bernardo, again, depending on how we find ourselves, he could be a good guy to come on and pack out the midfield if you're wanting to protect a lead and see out the game. Sarashi, I think he will have to feature at some point because inevitably, Kieran Tierney's no going to last, is he? Let's, no kid ourselves on here. He'll get to 70 minutes, if that. And then there's going to be a wee bit of shuffling in the deck. So I think you will get him, but he's a guy that's played something like 39 minutes of football. So how fit and up to it he is remains to be seen. And then, of course, you have Murray, if you want to shuffle around the deck at the back. Forrest will give you a good wee bit of attacking impetus. And maybe, depending on what Yang you bring on, Yang could maybe do something, but again, I'm not going to hold my breath. So I think that looking at that side there, I think it's definitely a Celtic side that need to get the job done. They need to go out, they need to be in the front foot, they need to press the game, they need to attack and need to get a goal or goals and get ahead of the curve there. Some early ones are coming in. I love this optimism, Wally. 5-0. Mate, I would take it. I would absolutely love a 5-0, but do I see it coming? Honestly, no. I said last night, I said before, and I maintain it. It is the epitome of sitting on the fence, what I'm about to say and what I have said. And that is, I genuinely can't call this one. Normally, I would look at the former Rangers, I would look at the backdrop of player unrest, fan unrest, so on and so forth, and think, "Oh, they are there for the taking." But then I also look at the fact that, yes, we have been winning in the league. It's maybe not been absolutely amazing, rip roaring football. Kairat Almaty was what Kairat Almaty was, and it's a wee bit of a downer. We are in no doubt a far better place than we are, but we just don't look like the Celtic that you're used to, that you can hang your hat on, that just tear teams apart. We've yet to see it, but by the way, what a day it would be to actually put in one of the performances, wouldn't it? I think the important thing for Celtic is that we need to exploit the gaps that will inevitably be there in Rangers' side. We've seen it. We need to press hard at the front end. When they get the ball, particularly when the ball's into feet of Butland and they're passing it around at the back, they're still learning that, playing it out for the back kind of thing in every single game, domestically, pre-season friendlies, the European ties that I have watched them in, they look vulnerable in those positions. They do not look comfortable passing that ball around at the back. And that is the thing. We need to be straight on that, putting them under pressure, forcing those errors, forcing those dodgy passes or shelling it out the pitch or whatever. That will be the key, getting in behind. Because the one thing is with Rangers trying to play this high line and trying to be expansive, they are wide open. How many teams have you saw that have just coasted? You could get an Arctic lorry through the centre of the Rangers midfield in most of those games. And that is the thing. But more importantly, when we do get through, hopefully, those gaps, you need to take those chances. I'm looking at you, Dyson Maeda. You're leading the line. You've had a track record, an unfortunate track record in recent run of games, about 4 quality one-on-one straight through on the goalkeeper moments, and you have fluffed your lines. There can be none of that today. We need the Dyson with the goal scoring record against Rangers. We need the Dyson that puts absolute fear into their defence. That's what we want. I'm with the Craig White CSC. My stomach is going for this one as well. I am totally unsure, as I say, is what happened. I think that on paper, there it is. If they play the way that they have so far and they give the chances up, I mean, I think when you look at their actual record of how many shots their goal has come under, both on target and just in general, it's ludicrous. It is within the hundreds at this moment in time after what, 8 games or something. It's in the hundreds. They are giving up chances left, right, and centre. And in some of those games that you saw them, you've always said, if that were a team with better quality strikers or whatever, they go in. People, that's us with the better quality players. They should be taking advantage. So that is the thing. They are extremely, extremely vulnerable. Celtic look, as we do at times, shaky at the back, but we're in a better spot. But it'll be so interesting. I really don't know what the backdrop of this game's going to be like, because as we say, when we talk about all the unrest with the board and things in our club, or we say, back your team on the day and then do what you need to do to get your message across, they are up in arms. There's hashtag we are all Nico Raskin, all this kind of stuff. The manager is toast if he loses today, I think. So will they come up and they will just be staunch and loyal and back the team, or will that sort of uncertainty, will that unhappiness creep into it? I guarantee you, if Celtic are controlling the game, whether they're ahead or they're just holding the ball and controlling the game, the crowd will quickly turn. And that is also something that Celtic need to tap into. They know the vulnerabilities. They know how quickly a crowd at Ibrox can turn. It's up to us to ramp up that heat. They'll be under pressure again in this game, just based on results, based on the expectations, based on everything that's went with the manager and the behind the scenes. Huge, huge, huge pressure on us. We have an opportunity to just absolutely turn that up to 11 and beyond, crank it to exploding point, and it would be an absolute cauldron for them. If Celtic can get that early goal, control the game, and this is the thing though, Celtic haven't done that. It's bizarre to say, but it is time. Let's win one of these. Let's win one of these. Let's put in a good performance and let's do it well. Let's show them that this is different gravy, that Celtic are back. And I hate saying that Celtic are back because we've never went anywhere. But in this fixture, in this tie, wow, since that League Cup final win, it's been downhill since then. Brendan Rodgers needs this for his credibility as well, because Celtic haven't won a big, meaningful, important tie since that League Cup final. That's the reality of it. Fluff their lines against Rangers, and people will say, dead rubbers, there's no such thing. No such thing as a dead rubber. They're the big games. The game against Aberdeen, Kairat Almaty, Celtic haven't won a massive, important crunch game since scraping by on penalties in the League Cup final against Rangers. That is it. And that is the thing. Exactly as John's saying there, we need to silence the crowd. Better still to get them to turn on their own team. And it would, we've seen it time over. But then that's the other thing as well. If we get ourselves ahead, if we see the crowd turning, it is equally important. And state the obvious, Steve, you never want to concede goals, but do not concede. Because when I have been watching them, one thing's for sure, see when the goal goes into them, the heads get down, the crowd start to turn, and they look like they're sixes and sevens. Now, as I said, they went down in games before, and the teams just haven't been able to convert the chances to really hit it home, to put the nail in the coffin, because once they go 2 goals, I think they're completely all at sea. That's the thing. However, in these other games so far this season, when they do score, as you'd imagine with any team, it gets a spring in their step, but the crowd start to get a wee bit of anticipation and get behind them. And that will be the one thing that Celtic need to watch, because in times gone by, when we've been scored into, we've been a wee bit rattled, we've been a wee bit shook. And especially in this game, that is huge. But get in there, get on top of them. If you get one, you need to then quickly try and get the other. We can't sit around and try to protect our lead. We need to go for the throat and get them to turn. So let's have a wee look anyway. What exactly is the Rangers lineup? Well, here it is here. And again, there's absolutely no surprises there. I think when you look at both sides, both Celtic and Rangers, it's pretty much what you would expect. In terms of looking at the respective benches, it's a funny one, isn't it? Because the quality that they've got, the options that they've got there on the bench, for me, are much of a muchness in both sides. I would probably, and you'll disagree with this, but I probably think when I look at the Rangers bench, they probably have a wee bit more that could change a game. You know, I'm thinking Antman. I'm thinking obviously Dessers. No matter what you think of him, he's dependable. He always comes on, gives a good account of himself, and he can score goals. Danilo, we've been stung with that one before. I think he's a guy in a bit of a crisis at the moment. But again, I think when you look at what they've got on the bench, really Dessers, Antman, maybe Danilo, potentially again, your guys, Curtis and Bijami, depending on what one of them turn up, what version of them turn up, I think they would be quite content with what they've got. Whereas, as I say, I think looking at Celtic side are get the job done, with the rest being options if you really, really need them. Now, there we look at it. They have went no Raskin in there. That's absolutely huge for them, and it'll be interesting to see what sort of ripple effect that has in the sort of team. They have went back to Captain Tav. Why? Because Aarons has been getting absolutely destroyed. But this is where we'll get to see a wee bit of Balikwisha action, isn't it? I'm quite looking forward to see him up against Tav, to see if he can be that tricky, skillful winger that we need. Of course, Nygren, I think, would be probably a wee bit more nullified against Tavernier, because he does have relatively decent speed, but he's not going to get in, and he likes to come a wee bit narrow into the pitch. So I think you're looking at Balikwisha there to really take that one on there. Giga, Suter, big strong guys at the back. They're the most dependable pairing for them, but again, they have had their massive problems, and they look as if they're, like a barge trying to turn at the best of times. Migoma is put in there again, much like I would say Aaron's, up and down. He came on in his debut and he done that assist, but aside from that, he's looked shaky. The midfield, this one here, that's where they're going to try and win the battles, isn't it? They've went dirty, they've went Barn, they've went Diamandi, they've went staunch. They're trying to do what they do and be hard in the tackle. The big one in there that I think is really going to be interesting to keep your eye on is Mikey Moore, of course, of Spurs. Someone Ange Postecoglou really liked. And again, regardless of what you know or think of him, he is a very talented young lad and a guy that will need to be sort of nullified and kept on. Of course, Miovski, as you would expect, write the script. They bring him straight in for the off. And I hope to God that he doesn't score, but at the same time, if somebody's going to, it might be him. We know what we can expect from him. Our centre halves have had a wee bit of a torrid time during his period at Aberdeen there. I think Carter Vickers get chucked about like a wet trackie at times there. They need to be on it because he's making his debut. They're looking for a new hero, and we know exactly what you've got from him. He comes off the back of a sort of not really rip-roaring, blazing period at Girona. Interesting to see what Majowski looks like these days. The only one concern I really, really have in this game is our right-back situation, because the boy Gassama is absolutely rapid. And I know I said, rapid, but he's skillful. He's shown that he's got an eye for goal, and he's very, very direct. And no disrespect to Anthony Ralston, he's proven to be an ample deputy. He's been suitable over the years, but this is a real test for him. This is a real, proper, fast, tricky opponent that he's going to be up for. The kind of guy that if you get in behind him, you've got to watch, because you don't want to give anything, because also he likes to get down quite a bit as well. And that's one that I think, in terms of a battle there, I think that's the only real bit on the pitch, the line-up head-to-head, that I think that's a vulnerability. And I genuinely believe that they will go more often than not down the side of Anthony Ralston and trying to exploit. And if that's identified early, then it's up to our players around it to notice that, offer Ralston the suitable coverage that he needs, and dare I say it, if it's looking torrid, maybe even switch it up and do that. So for me, Gassama versus Ralston, that's the one big concern that I've got. But equally on the other side, I'm excited to see Balikwisha up against Tavernier and see what he's got. In terms of the score, what do I think? I really don't know. My heart tells me Celtic won't lose. Yeah, I'm with that. I don't think they'll lose. Do I think, like some of the people are saying there, that are going out and saying that it'll be 5-0 and the stuff? I don't really know about that. I don't really know that. And as Jay's saying, I would be confident if we hadn't been pretty rough the past few games. That's the bit that we need. And as Big Rab saying, Maeda needs to turn up. He needs to turn up today. He needs to get that off his back. He needs to be the main man. And if those opportunities, if those one-on-ones arise, he needs to take them. John, I agree. Yep, I think that Miowski could be a worry. He's mobile. He's got a decent touch. He's strong. We know exactly what we're getting about him. Maybe in some ways that might not be the worst thing, that we know what we're getting, but that's it there. And like this is, and that's what you like to see. Good luck to both teams. And it's a Rangers fan. I like that kind of stuff. Not against Rangers fans watching the podcast. It is, but it is. That's a sort of decent level of sportsmanship. I've got to say, though, the man that ate the boiled ham raw, good luck to Celtic. I want the worst of luck to Rangers. I'll be honest with you, mate. I'm not. I appreciate good sportsmanship, but on a day like this, I'm all about Celtic and Celtic only. And I want an absolute horror show. I want booing after 25 minutes. I want get Martin out stuff. I want the head going, Rangers players losing it, guys getting sent off. That's what I want to see. And of course, I'm sure that deep down you'll want that for your side as well. But yes, we're nearly at there. 10 minutes for kickoff. Get yourselves ready. The beers are chilling. The sun is shining. Whatever you're doing for the game, enjoy the game. Look after yourself. If you're out and about or you're heading out or whatever you're doing, be sensible. Look after each other. Be good people. So here we go. This is it. And I'm going to say it before I go. You might not like it, but it's a sackable offence for any manager. If you get beat in this, that sounds... Steve, what are you talking about? I'm not shouting get Rodgers out, but what I am saying is, and I'm bringing it back, as I said, Celtic haven't won an important, vital, meaningful game since the League Cup final versus Rangers. Fact, that is the nature of it. Rangers in absolute turmoil. Yep, there's a couple of guys in there that'll freshen things up that might increase their quality, but, and there's no other way to say it, Motherwell, St Mirren, Come on, Dundee. That's who Rangers have played in the league. Games at Ibrox. Far, far, far less quality than Celtic. Multiple levels down. And they take a point off Rangers. Now, Celtic, with all the resources, forget that we should have had more guys in. I fully agree with that. But come on, that squad, those players that's lining up for Celtic today, if that squad can't get some purchase against this Rangers side, when the teams that I've just mentioned have been able to do it, and arguably probably should have taken all 3 points, then it's a sad day. And it's a sad indictment of the state that we are if we can't take them on and we can't deal with them and beat them. Beat them, yes, but at minimum, don't get beaten, take a draw. It's a sackable offence for both managers. It's a sackable offence for Russell Martin to get beat today, regardless of it being an absolute drubbing or just 1-0, because he can't afford any more losses. A sackable offence for Brendan Rodgers, but he's not going to get sacked. But I mean, as a figure of speech, it's a massive bad blot on his book if he can't get over the line against this team with the way that they've been playing. That's my final thought on it. So anyway, go and enjoy the game. As I say, whatever you're doing, stay safe, look after each other, be sensible, and hopefully when all's said and done, when the smoke's settled, we're celebrating a good victory. We're celebrating being 9 points ahead of Rangers. We're celebrating just cranking up the pressure on the situation at Ibrox a wee bit more. And hey, maybe, just maybe, we might get some news about signings because that deadline is round the corner tomorrow. And by God, do we need those signings quick. It would be good to bounce out of the weekend and have a beautiful Sunday and then an even better Monday with some new players. So take care of yourselves, enjoy the game, and we'll see you after it.